I suffer from decision fatigue, and all of the current decisions regarding COVID precautions, mask wearing, and returning to school are overwhelming. How can I prevent
Yes.
decision fatigue while I need to make all these decisions for my family?
Yeah, totally. It's a real thing. You've got so many decisions that are happening in life, so many important things taking place, so many pending issues that have to be figured out. It can be totally, totally overwhelming. So you're definitely not alone in that. And there are some things that you can do practically to navigate that. That decision fatigue is about a drain of mental and emotional resources. That our brain is an organ like any other organ in our body. It runs on glucose and some other kind of energy type uh, products, for lack of a better word, that fuel our brain in order to function. And those are finite in nature, they're not infinite. So they get used up, they get exhausted. And so the more kind of decisions that we make, the more shifts our brain has to make, the more pressure we feel, the anxiety that we feel, that depletes our resources as well. So what we're wanting to do is kind of limit the decision making and decrease the pressure. And there's a few different strategies that we can use to do that. One, try to eliminate and simplify all the decisions that you can in your life. There's some decisions that you can't defer, that you can't get rid of, that you can't make simpler. But then there's others that you can, right? Little things like, figuring out what it is that you're going to eat. Right? Like you can simplify that by simplifying your meal planning process and your grocery shopping process. And instead of maybe doing what would be your normal routine, try to find out ways that you can go simple with things that require less thought and less preparation. As an example, wardrobe, outfit, kind of decision making. You can simplify that. All the things that don't really matter all that much in life, that you can kind of trim out and simplify the decision-making process for a season, helps to reserve that energy for applying it towards other things. The next thing that you can do is you can segment off the different decisions that you have to make. And so think about like the order in which decisions have to be made, and your drop dead dates, your deadlines of when you have to make a decision by this point in time. And if you have some of those that are like maybe about what we're going to do with school in the fall, right? And we've got 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that, before we have to make a final decision on that. Maybe we intentionally put off kind of making a decision about that until we're 4 weeks out, or we're 2 weeks out, right? And so we're telling ourselves that we're not going to make a decision about it until then. So taking the pressure off of our shoulders of having to make that decision now, at the same time that we're trying to hold all these other decisions, and say that one I've tabled until this point in time, and you write it on a calendar so that it's concrete and it's outside of you, and it's like, I'm not going to make a decision until that point in time. Some things need some prep time and need some research and some study done to be prepared to make that decision. So designate time in your schedule for doing that. Block in an hour out or 2 hours out on 1 day a week. That's earmarked for doing research, praying about, thinking about that particular decision. When you create a container for that, you both make sure that you're giving it the attention that it needs to be able to make a wise decision there, but you're also preventing it from like bleeding over to every minute of every day that's weighing on your mind. Like psychologically, you can put it in a box and say, I've designated time on Friday in a couple hour block. And if I need more time to come to a conclusion, I designate another block. I designate another block. But you're creating containers that help you organize it in your mind and give your mind permission to not be thinking about that in this moment. And to be able to redirect your thoughts when you find yourself ruminating on those things. To be able to go, you know what, I don't need to be thinking about this right now. It matters, it's important, but I've got a designated time in my life to think about that. And this isn't it. And so I'm going to stop thinking about that. And I'm going to focus on what I'm supposed to be focused on right now. And that's my kids, my work, whatever it is, if it's relaxing, whatever it is, that this is what this time is designated for. I'm going to be fully present and engaged in this. I'll think about that in the time that I've designated for thinking about that. So that is kind of like on your, think about your computer or your phone and the memory resources that a computer or phone has. You know, that if you've got 11, 15 applications open at once, it just kind of goes, moves so slow because all of the resources are split between all of these different open applications. What that does is that closes a bunch of tabs, closes a bunch of applications so that you only have one open, and you can give all your resources to that one. And then you can close that one and open a new one and give your attention and resources to that. And that's a lot less draining and overwhelming than trying to look at 11 things at once, which is impossible, but really exhausting to try.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Just practical advice. And I think so many of us are struggling with that decision fatigue right now, just that anxiety around none of us have ever experienced some of what's happening in the world today. And so there's so much anxiety that comes along with that. And there's big decisions that are being made, you know, exactly what this person said, you know, I mean, that is about their family, about their kids and their kids' experience. And that can be very daunting. But I love what you said, Josh, just about prioritizing what's important and rest and these things that, you know, need to happen and not trying to do it all at once or carry it all alone.
Yeah, and I think that rest piece is really important. You know, that thinking about the reality of limited resources, that doing things that are restorative, right? Paying attention to basic self-care type things, your eating, your sleeping, your exercise, your engagement with those who love you, the community piece of it, that those are needs that we have bodily because it's the way God made us. And if we're not caring for those things adequately, then we don't have enough fuel in the tank to be able to give attention to the different things and demands that are on our life right now.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely see that in my own life, just the way that I'm prone to, you know, be very overwhelmed and thinking of everything all at once and how critical that rest piece is for me personally. And I think for everyone, I think that rest is a universal need for everybody, especially in this season where there is so much happening and so much distraction and anxiety. You know, we need that.
And the more going on, the more drains there are on those resources, the more important those restorative things are. And sometimes it's really just listening to the body in some ways. You know, that not everybody has the flexibility to do self-care in the same way, but it doesn't make it any less important to kind of figure out how you can work it in and how you can engage it. And so sometimes that's, you know, about engaging exercise that helps burn off cortisol and adrenaline kind of in your body, those stress hormones, in order to help you clear that, flush that out of your system. Other times it's about taking a nap. You know, sometimes we can have this shame kind of voice. It's like, no, I shouldn't need that. I should be able to just like power through. And we're ignoring what our body is telling us in terms of its need for rest, which then causes us to be depleted in a way that we don't have the mental or emotional resources to take on the hard things.